something go right over the top of us that looked like a long cylindrical object that almost looked like a cruise missile type of thing moving really fast. We just had something go right over the top of us that looked like a long cylindrical object that almost looked like a cruise missile type of thing moving really fast.
Right, so today we're going to talk about a place we've recently visited.
Yeah, we recently did a field trip to Avebury, to the Avebury Stones, and also we wanted to check Silbury Hill. These are all Neolithic sites that we can't really get a straight answer from the experts on how they were created, what their real uses were. It's guesswork from what we can see.
Well, absolutely, but that's the thing, isn't it? Archaeology is not a science in the purest way of thinking about it. It's not testable.
It's the best guess.
It's not provable.
It's the best guess.
It's all about conjecture, which is why we like it so much.
Yeah. Gives us room to play.
Exactly. And the simple truth is that every single piece of information we have about who built these structures is based upon tools, implements, and carbon dating. That's who we can detect was there 2,500 years ago.
That's the earliest sign of human contact that these structures have had.
Well, yes. I mean, also, well, if you think about the pyramids have data in that points to 2450 BC, no question. The reason that Göbekli Tepe is such a big turnaround is because it was completely buried.
Yeah.
So there's nothing more recent than 9600 BC because it's been underground that long. Yeah. So that's why no one's been there since and messed up all the carbon dating. So that's not the oldest. It's difficult to say, isn't it? Because we don't really know what they find at Avebury that they just don't. Oh, that must be wrong because it's 7,000 years.
The interesting thing about Avebury is it's not just the circle. It's not just one site. You have multiple structures within a 2-mile radius, such as we mentioned, Silbury Hill, such as the Overton Hill, the West Kent Avenue, Beckhampton Avenue, which are the stone paths that lead towards the circle.
Right.
You also have Flankers Circle. You have the burial, the sanctuary. You said the sanctuary, the burial mounds, or the Overton Hills, which are burial mounds.
Possibly, yes.
You have these structures all dotted around, but all local to the stone circle. Either they were all constructed at completely different times to add on to the structure, or they were all part of something.
Now, I think we both have a pet theory about the Avebury Stone and the stone circle particularly. Now, I just want to bring in something for a moment here. All of these things are in one particular place in the British Isles. So they're all very, very close to each other. But this is an area, a very small area with a great deal of very, very unusual Neolithic sites. Kind of reminds me of Cydonia on Mars.
You could say that. I mean,
there's just a lot of stuff in one place.
Were we not discussing the fact that you spotted that there was a similar structure to Silbury Hill on Mars that geometrically looked the same, except it was scaled up to 40.
Yes, I just did my 1/4. I think it is.
Size.
But I mean, even 1/4 the size is 1.4 billion tons of. If it was made of the same type of earth as the Silbury Hill, it'd be 1.4 billion tons of material to make. I'm always interested in giving the mainstream ideas a sort of tap with a hammer to sort of see if they can unlock something more exciting. Let's talk about the mainstream ideas around Silbury, or particularly Avebury. The textbook understanding of Avebury is that Neolithic tribes picked up hundreds of stones, most of which weigh over 50 tons, and carried them 30 kilometres.
I think let's go a little bit deeper than that. They wouldn't have just picked it up. They would have had to been quarried, removed from the quarry over rolling hills, about 20, 30 miles of rolling hills without any road structure, without any known wheels or any load-bearing technology. So you're talking about logs and planks of wood just pushing a stone along the road.
And they didn't cut them, because all they had were antler picks. So that is basically the antler off of a deer and attaching it to a wooden handle. That is the total level of their technology that is being found at Avebury.
Yes.
There's no question that there is evidence those kind of picks have been used to sort of attack the stones with in some way. That doesn't mean they put them there. But having said that, the fact that the stones are not chiselled or anything in any way does support that theory, that whoever moved them had very little technology. The problem is, if you've got very little technology, how would you ever get it there?
We obviously, when we played our visit to the site and walking up to these stones, they are huge.
They
and
are vast.
I just I envisaged modern day attempt to move one of these stones, and I pictured, well, could a JCB digger with a big scoop pick it up and then troll it down? No,
No way.
There's just no way. It's an odd shape, it's bulky, it's very heavy, and I don't think that the pneumatic arm of one of those could carry one of those things. We thought about obviously one of those really ultra heavy load vehicles that they carry those windmills and things like that.
Sure, like with
how are you going to get it
escort.
onto that? And then there's no,
Exactly.
you need a road structure. You need something to help the ease of
that would only work on a very flat.
Yeah.
If you gave that a hillside, even with a police escort and everything else,
Yeah.
it would never go up.
You'd have to cut a hole. You'd have to cut a valley into the hillside to get it through. Because you wouldn't want to. You wouldn't want to till it up there, and you wouldn't want to put it down there because it's going to roll,
And then it's going to kill everyone.
It's going to kill everyone trying to pull it. So
there's no way they used a sled, because what could you make a sled out of that would take a rock of 110 tons? How would you spread out the weight? I mean, what could you make that out of?
And the ground around there is quite soft, so it would just sink every time you tried to move it.
So you'd have to have. Let's just say that you could make big skis out of wood. How would, as soon as you put that thing onto it, they're going to snap?
Yeah, and how many people do you think it would take to tow 110 ton? You're talking about Neolithic people there. They haven't even got shoes. Well, the basic.
They
shoes.
might have
leather sandals.
They might have
at
leather
best.
sandals.
At best.
Absolutely. But you'll
rope technology. What's the rope technology back then? You had reeds. You had
horsehair.
Horsehair. So you're tying horsehair together. So you're looking at. You're going to need manpower of at least 1,000 people.
I think
at least.
they probably could make reasonably strong sort of twiny ropes out of certain kinds of branches, but nothing that's going to. Nothing. I mean, let's just say that you could make a massive woven scoop thing with loads and loads of ropes that everyone could pull on. 110 tons. How many calories an hour would you get through trying to move something like that?
I know. Yeah.
30 kilometres. I mean, forget Iron Man. These guys must have been.
But when we go back to the manpower thing, you'd have to employ the skill set of thousands of people, and there weren't that many people close knit together like that. A village side would have been like no more than 50 to 100 people.
If we had to drag something 100 kilometres, 30 kilometres, 100 kilos, 30 kilometres, the two of us, 100 kilos is very, very heavy indeed.
Yes.
That's 1.5 people or a big person. If it was made of stone, okay, it wouldn't be that big. It would be the sort of size of, I don't know, like a big cardboard box or a fridge or something.
Yeah.
It's all, it's got there's no easy handhold. It's just a blob of rock.
You have to drag it through earth to get to wherever you are, unless you had some way of.
If you try and roll it, it can roll back on you. You've got to be ready to get out of the way at any moment. If it rolls back to the bottom of the hill, you're probably going to shoot yourself.
Yeah.
And that is 1/1100th. This thing they moved is 1,100 times that heavy. So let's just say you had 2,000 people. They can't all make contact with it. It's big, but it's not big enough for 2,000 people. And even if you could do that, to coordinate them, I mean, how would any of this ever work? And how would they ever get it up a hill? And that's just one stone.
Yes,
and there's hundreds of them.
Yes, hundreds of them dotted around, and So I think the audience can grasp the fact that the difficulties of moving these stones at that period in time are very difficult to envisage.
It doesn't make any sense in terms of physicality, food. I mean, under what pretense could you convince a whole village to do something that the end game of is quite a complicated concept? I mean,
and very little reward, physically very little reward, other than suffering and death to get it there. I mean, fine, it's a sense of achievement, but that's as far as it goes, really.
So under the pagan belief system that was allegedly these people were operating under, okay, it's a calendar, maybe it's for specifically chose. Well, we don't know they were specifically chosen, but we do know that this particular type of stone is resistant. The sarsen stone is resistant to weathering.
It's like a crete, isn't it? Like a plastrete sort of.
It's
mixture.
resistant to crumbling.
Mm.
It's resistant to weathering.
Mm.
In other words, it's exactly the right stone. I mean,
To place.
how would these people have known that? Are you telling me it was just by coincidence? It's exactly the same type of stone at Stonehenge.
And another fact about that stone, it's only found in very arid, hot, temperate countries such as Africa, Australia, and so forth. And the very rare occurrence of those stones coming back up again is France and the UK, is it not?
Brittany and
yeah.
England.
Yeah.
Not the UK.
Yeah.
It's not found in Wales. Well, not in significant place.
No.
The place, and those where we're talking about it being found, is extremely isolated to where it's been used, which I find
very odd,
very confusing.
Yeah,
That's a very
out.
confusing idea.
Yeah.
That this stuff is only found in arid zones in any great quantity, apart from where people have used it. How's that even possible?
Yeah, think of the thousands of miles that have that. Yeah.
Why isn't it? Was never used in Germany or
No.
Switzerland or any of these places.
Very, another. Odd.
It's very difficult to get your head around that. I mean, I've just got a Silcrete.
Silbury, yeah.
Is the name of it. It's indurated, which means it resists crumbling or powdering.
Mm.
In other words, if you rub two bits together, you get nothing.
Yeah, they don't.
It's not like pumice or flint or something like that.
So obviously, now that we've come to the conclusion that it would have been very difficult for normal people to do this around that period of time, what theories do we have, or how could it have been done?
Well, I think that perhaps we need to talk about, just like you said a moment ago, there's no obvious reward. Is there an obvious purpose to any of this?
Well, I mean, I have my theories as to the uses of these stone circles. I thought that they would be perfect to help amplify sound waves and resonating waves from chanting and so forth, which kind of links into the sort of belief systems of the time. Now you're looking at a time of the Neolithic people, like you said earlier, they were pagans. They didn't have any structured religion such as Catholicism, Islam, whatever. So they relied on nature and the world around them to give them signs to worship and so forth. So it's something that would amplify, let's say, a shaman's voice or a sermon's voice and spiritual meaning. I think would have been a big thing back then. I mean, this could have been like the Vatican back in those days.
I think perhaps it's even a step further than that. Is that these sort of repeated chantings were sort of the sort of things that, that people like George Harrison got out of chanting. It was essentially mind altering.
Mm. Yes,
and
it's a form of meditation, isn't it, John?
Yeah, maybe even, sort of travelling from the left-hand side to the right-hand side of the brain kind of meditation. Mm. Is it possible that these people were capable of moving giant rocks through some sort of spirituality alone?
Yeah.
Because that, to me, might explain why they've got no markings on of any kind that we can really... they are very, very much as they are. I mean, we were talking about them being removed from a quarry. They haven't been chiselled out.
No.
They've literally been...
They've been located in
uncovered and then moved. Now, that sounds to me like they could be used for an acoustic property. And that in those days they just saw, sound as part of a greater spirituality of the world. And that everything was part of the spirit. That they lived much further to the right-hand side of the brain than we do these days in our very sort of serial, computer-type way of thinking we have now, where this happens and this happens and this happens and this. I think these people were more...
They're more in tune with nature and consciousness.
they were more they were less reliant on language.
Yeah.
They had less internal dialogue.